be some humanness. Not that God created us in his image, but that humans create gods in their image. And at the time of Christ, slavery was commonplace. And it remained so for many, many years. I know of no single event that essentially made human beings decide for themselves that it was wrong. And yet, it is today an imperative that slavery is wrong. The issue that we are struggling with today with regard to the rights of the LGBT community is being argued about in churches around this whole land. And yet, you can look in the Bible and the statements are there, both with regard to slavery and with regard to LGBT rights. I submit to you that what is making a difference with regard to LGBT rights is not a lot of intellectual discussion. It really is smart straight, queer effort, straight guy, Will and Grace, Ellen DeGeneres, all the popular culture around us that essentially molds the way we think are ultimately what is leading us to a higher level of morality. And it has precious little to do with what's in the scriptures.
Well, since the question was asked, let me, what's the legislative phrase, amend and elaborate on my comments. I was not arguing against morality having a role in our government or our legislation. I was cautioning against imposing a specific brand of morality. The example I used, Jewish kosher laws versus Mormon beliefs. Of course, we can't ever separate the two, only because government is composed of human beings, and human beings can't segment their thoughts. But they can guard against imposing their own particular moral views on society as a whole. Furthermore, the law is not necessarily based on morality, something every law student learns in his first year of law school during torts class. And this isn't necessarily true throughout the country because it does get changed. But under what's called the common law, the original law we adopted for Britain, if you were standing in a pool and you saw a child drowning there, you could stand there and do nothing, and you would be exercising your legal right. But if you tried to save the child and screwed up, the parents could sue you for it, which of course is the complete opposite of what morality would dictate. The law and morality do not always align.
How many more questions do you want? Keep going? We've got 20 more minutes. No, we've got about 15 minutes. 10 minutes. We need to give Paul 10 minutes at the end of the day. So.
Okay.
We've got till 12:50.
I think when we're talking about differences, that we have to look at what's the difference between right and wrong and good and bad. Right and wrong, I think we learn according to the culture that we're in and the laws that we have to obey. In this country, it's right, it's imperative that you drive on the right side of the road. If you go to Ireland, it's wrong to drive. I mean, it's right to drive on the wrong side of the road. You know what I'm trying to say? I'm going to say it quickly in a little lesson that I learned at another interfaith thing, where the young priest talked about the golden rule. He said, suppose that there was a monkey living up in a tree, looking out over this beautiful land, and there was this little pond down there with a little silver fish swimming around. Now, we all know the golden rule, do unto others, right? And then the monkey learned that upstream there was a big storm, and all this debris and stuff was coming down into that's going to affect this poor little fish. So he runs down out of this tree, grabs the fish, and brings him up into the tree. Well, the monkey was pleased with himself, but the fish was not too happy, because that was not what was best for the fish. So when we are practicing the golden rule, we have to think about not what I think is best for the other, but I have to think what the other thinks is best for him.
Masochists really screw up the golden rule.
Yeah, hi there. Talking about this election earlier, and polarization and divisiveness and everything, it didn't seem quite as bad 4 years ago. And I'm just wondering why you think it's gotten to the level it has right now.
I actually think it was this bad 4 years ago, but yeah, I mean, you know, I think that our president tried really hard to use inclusive language and to talk about dialogue with, you know, across ideological lines, and then he spent 4 years in office and found out that idealism was hard. So we're not hearing as much of that message because I think people have given up on the idea to a certain extent that you know, maybe we can't actually collaborate across ideological lines, and it's hard. People are exhausted, you know, and I think we're all guilty of it. You know, we repost stuff we see that amuses us, making fun of our least favorite candidate, and we tend to get into really particularly about issues like the abortion debate, right? I mean, the language we use is horrible. You know, someone's pro-life and the other person's pro-choice. This is such disingenuous terms, and they immediately draw battle lines. So we have to learn a new way. We have to just, again, as I said, you know, first look at one another as human beings, and then start having a conversation. Don't use all these labels and these divisive words.
And I also think, and I know we talked a little bit earlier about morality, but our morality is declining. It is sliding, in my estimation, slowly down the hill. People put on TV what they think the people want to see. Politicians, sorry. Some politicians will create ads that they think the people want to see. And they continue to do that. Our television programming. If you look at what was on television 20 years ago in comparison to what's on television today, you'll see a decline. But they put on television what they think people want to see. And those of us, myself included, who really should turn it off, don't. And therefore, it continues to get worse and worse and worse because we continue to tune in. And by tuning in, we are saying it's okay. And at some point, we need to stop saying it's okay, turn it off, tune it out, and say, you know what, this is not a reflection of my morality. And therefore, I'm not going to have any part of it. But we don't say anything, we don't do anything, and usually our actions really align with what it is that we're seeing, even though internally we'll say that's not what we want. So I think it is worse. It was worse then, it is worse now, and I think it'll be much worse by the time we get to November.
If in fact it is worse, and I'm not sure how to gauge that, I would attribute it more to historical facts in addition to what's been stated here. In 2008, we were about 2 years into this recession. I think people thought, okay, we're going to get out of this thing, it's okay. But now we've been 6 years into it, and unemployment continues to be very high. I think a lot of people are worried that it's not going to rebound for a long time, that this is much more protracted than we had originally anticipated. And so I think people are much more engaged because they have more time, they're unemployed, and they're much more engaged because they are unemployed. Just the idea of being unemployed. Plus, I think now that we've got a comprehensive health care plan that has got the attention of everybody. We've talked about it for many, many years. It's been a platform for one of the parties for several presidential elections. But now we've got something that has been implemented, been vetted in the Supreme Court, and that's got a lot of people as well. You couple that with some of the changes that took place in Wisconsin with the unions, and so forth, and other issues like that. I'm just trying to think of a few that may have ignited a lot of this sentiment. But I think a lot of it has to do with the events in which we live now. I'm not sure that it is or is not more neutralic than it was 4 years ago.
It sounds like a space of fear then.
Fear or anxiety? Yeah.
So I have 3 people that have already asked questions before that I want to ask again, and I'm happy to take in order. Is there anybody that has not spoken yet that wants to speak? Just to make sure everybody gets a chance. Okay.
so we have to look at everything from the past to realize what we can do, each and every aspect. Every person has to take responsibility. And it doesn't matter what religion, because each individual has to take what they know in their own lives at every second with the people we know in our families, our co-workers, church, members. That's one of the reasons why there's so many different religions, that people need to move into another religion to find some form of strength of who they are, what their meaning and purpose in life is. But I can't help but say, it's every aspect of the past that we have to look to create growth and strength now to create changes. I just want to share.
Yeah, actually, I want to ask a question, really, for Senator Lewis. So we've had a discussion about negative politics, and we're all kind of tired of it. And we really don't want to hear anymore. You're in politics, and I think you're a very good and honorable politician. What should we do to influence you guys to stop doing it? What would make an impact on others in the legislature to stop running? What if everybody in this room, every time we saw a negative ad, wrote a letter to whoever ran that ad?
That's a great idea.
Said, we really hate this ad, please stop showing it. Would that influence you guys? What could we do to change it? As we're all sort of frustrated here because we're powerless to stop it.
I think it's a great idea, and others like it. It just, again, voting against those that do, voting for those that don't, voting for those who are inclusionary in their politics, that want to hear all sides so that they come up with the most synergistic solution to issues. But I think we've got to get involved in the process, and that's something that I think perhaps goes back to this question here. A lot more people now are involved because they need to be. They've been motivated now for whatever reason, morally, jobs, or otherwise. But getting involved in making your voice heard in a civil way so that those who do perpetrate these kinds of advertisements and vitriol will realize it doesn't work anymore. And I appreciate the question, but I think each person has to decide for themselves, what can I do? I think it's something that through a lot of serious meditation, concentration, can come up with something that would work for them in their sphere of influence.
Can I make a quick comment too? I was reading one of Thich Nhat Hanh's books recently, and he talked about we all write angry letters to our politicians to complain, about the attack ads or anything, but how often do we write love letters to our representatives? These are the people who are doing government on our behalf, and it's hard to blame them for doing attack ads when we're sending attack letters and we're not writing love letters.
I'd like to interject another optimism. I'm not sure I entirely agree that things are going downhill. The young lady back there said I take a historical perspective. There was a time in this country when slavery was not only considered perfectly moral, but was endorsed, supported, and promoted by our government. Also, a time when ethnic cleansing and genocide against the Native Americans actively supported by our government. I think I can safely say there is probably no member of our government today I know of who would support any of those things. That's definitely an improvement. In the 1930s, a ship of Jewish refugees, the SS St. Louis, tried to come to this country, escaping from Nazi Germany. They weren't even allowed to land. They were sent back to Europe, to Germany, and the fate that awaited them. Today, we're having debates about whether or not we should have helped the Libyans overthrow Gaddafi. What should be done about Syria? But at least we are considering the issue, not just slamming the door shut. I think that's shown great moral improvement. As far as television, there I'll agree with you. Our tastes have gone downhill, but when it comes to the arts, I'm an elitist snob.
Well, being originally from Britain, my expat friends and I often really question what certain things are being debated. Why are they debated in government? Why are they being debated on the political platform? Why do we debate them year after year, election after election, after election after election, after decade? We don't do this in Britain, and I'm confused and wonder if We don't have to. Let's debate that again. We don't have it. It's over. Let's get on with it. We don't bring up things. They're done. So I'm just, not to say Britain's better or anything like that, but I'm just wondering, do you think there'll ever be a time where we just move forward and get over these issues that don't seem to have any place, to me, in politics? Just a question.
Yeah.
That was a question. That was a question to be answered.
You want a response from the team?
Yeah.
I think she wants a response from up here.
Perhaps. Perhaps.
What can we do to move it forward, you know?
Well, again, it goes back to the same response from the 2 questions ago, and that is get involved, let people know that we're tired of these debates. Let's focus on the things that are really important to us. And the way we do that is by sending nice letters. There are some times when Cecil Representative Ashton could attest, we'll get 2,000 or 3,000 emails in a 24-hour period on a bill that's going to be voted on the next day. They're all the same things, so we know, except our assistant just going to catalog and keep account. But when someone takes the time not just to hit copy and paste and actually write a well-thought-out letter, that's not attacking me or attacking other individuals, but stating their positions. I know Representative Ashton does this because I've talked to him about several of those bills, and I know he's voted a lot of times in ways that would surprise some people within his own party. But if someone takes the time to write a good letter, it doesn't have to be a love letter, but just don't attack the person and say, you're an idiot for voting this way in the past, and I want you to vote this way in the future. We'll read it, but it's probably not going to have a whole lot of influence on us. Whereas if you lay out your feelings, here's what I believe based on these facts, I don't know a legislator that's not going to listen to that, honestly. And I think the key is getting involved, letting those who are making those decisions hear from you in a civil way.
I think part of the problem with the rehashing the debate is the way we do debates, and I don't know how it is in Europe, but again, the abortion debate is a great example. We're all just yelling the same thing at each other over and over again. You're anti-choice, you're a baby murderer. I mean, and none of that is true. Somebody who supports reproductive choice is not anti-life, and somebody who wants to protect unborn babies is not against women, having equality. They just, we got to get down to the root and look at each other as people and say, you know what, we're all pro-life, and we extrapolate a different public policy from that place. But let's not scream at each other, because that doesn't move us anywhere. And it's the same thing with the death penalty debate. I mean, people use really awful, divisive language rather than talking about the issues.
We've got about a minute, so Ed?
Yeah, you're it.
I just want to make one quick point, if you don't mind, to what Larry said and also what's been said here about the negative campaigning. I would point out to you that half or more of the candidates that use negative ads lose. They don't win because negative campaigning really doesn't work. If you look at the numbers, if every candidate uses negative ads, half of them are going to lose. So does it really? I mean, just let it on the rhetorical question.
We'll take that as a comment. I want to thank very much our panel that's been with us today. It's been not only informative, but it's been also wonderfly civil. And I want to congratulate each of you and thank you for your presence and your participation in our forum. Now we turn to Paul Eppinger, whom I sometimes teasingly call the apostate rather than the Apostle Paul, but he has a few things to say.
Well, I also want to say thank you, and Sarah go down from Flagstaff just for this meeting today. Our panel, thank you. And I know that all of us will say, if we lived in Senator Lewis's district, we'd be voting for him. If Karen or Sarah all at once say, hey, I'm going to run for office. Vote for him, all right. It's wonderful. I was going to say, Textown had been the chairman of this committee for the last 4, 5, 6 years. Because of family circumstances, ill granddaughter in Kansas City. He and his wife Peggy are going to have to move back to Kansas City. So that this might be the last meeting that Tex will be with us. But I think we can stay. Sorry. We can stay. Thank you. Strong supporter, member of the Area Interfaith Movement, and certainly been the rep of this committee for the faith forums. Let me just mention, the Arizona Interfaith Movement has 25 different faith groups. We do all kinds of things. Let me just share one thing. There's been some discussion a little bit about slavery. There was slavery in America, in Arizona, in Phoenix today. It is called human trafficking of especially young ladies who have been enslaved in sexuality. 2 weeks or so ago, Ann and Nancy and I met a lady, Amanda Larson, and she told us what she was doing. She's been in Ghana and has learned about the human trafficking there, and then she lives here in Phoenix. She learned about it here. Amanda and a lady down from Alabama are riding their bicycles from San Diego to Florida right now. And they were here. They came into Phoenix last Thursday, I think. Arizona Interfaith Movement organized a press conference for them, and we had 5 or 6 different television stations there to talk with them and things. Friends, there is still slavery going on.
There are petitions that people can help with. Petitions.
Yes, there are different petitions and things. Get on our website and you can find out what we do and what we're doing. But thank you for the questions. Let me just mention a couple of things very quickly. Up here on the table, we have different things, items. We have a brochure like this that has the next 2 months scheduled for the faith forums. Next month, it's on October the 16th. Usually, we meet for the faith forum on the 3rd Tuesday. This month, because this facility is busy next week. In October, November, it'll be on the 3rd Tuesday. October the 16th, the topic is patriotism. Who is the ultimate authority? Warren Stewart asked a question about faith and morality and things a minute ago. This forum next month is going to be on who is the top authority, the government or God. The topic is patriotism. Who is the ultimate authority? Invite you to come 11:30 on October the 16th. November the 20th, it will be on split identity, when faith and conscience collide. Invite you to come and be a part of the discussion in both those things. Now let me share 2 other things very quickly. On this front page of this brochure you're getting, we publicize Experience in Faith. It will be on October the 23rd. Just to share with you in just a word, the Sikh faith started 500 years ago in 1469. And the major social crisis they were confronting was the caste system, high caste, low caste. They said, we've got to break this. This was in India. We've got to break this. But what we want to do, what they said, is in all of our worship service, we will have everyone sit on the floor to show that no one is higher or lower than anyone else. And also, they said, we will serve a free dinner after the worship service, and everyone will sit on the floor for that free dinner. And you don't have to attend, they said, you don't have to attend the worship service to get the free dinner. So a high-caste rich man could sit here, a beggar off the street could come in, sit next to him, a woman next to him, a child, all sitting on the floor, same level. The Sikhs still do that. In the Gurdwara down here, just a few blocks from here, every Sunday after the worship service, they sit on the floor and have dinner together. Now the Sikh faith at this event on October the 23rd is providing the food at the Global Gurdwara, the church. They have 6 or 8 people that own high-priced Indian restaurants. If you went to their restaurant, you'd be paying $30 or $40 for dinner. They are providing the food for this Experience in Faith event. Now, the reason it's important to know that it's not some little guy out in the backyard with a ton of stereos and brew. It's these high-priced restaurants that are providing the food. And after we eat, and we'll be sitting on, and we'll have a couple tables for elderly or infirm, but we'll have 500 people sitting on the floor there. You might be sitting next to a Hindu, or a Buddhist, or a Sikh, or whoever it might be. They'll provide the food. We'll eat, then we'll break into small groups, give people chairs so it's more comfortable. And we say we don't want you to sit with the same people you came with, because we don't want a group of Christians here, and a group of Jews here, and a group of Buddhists here. They're all mixed up. And we use questions to discuss it. That's on October the 23rd. We invite you to be a part of that on October the 23rd. We have this. We have brochures of the Arizona Interfaith Movement. We have items here to show how to get the Golden Rule license plates. How many of you have a Golden Rule license? This is a traveling billboard, friends. It's an official Arizona license plate, and has pictures of Grand Canyon, Saguaro Campus. The motor vehicle people tell us it's the most beautiful license plate in the state. At the bottom it says, live the Golden Rule. We want this message out everywhere. This is the way you can get one of those official license plates. We also have here a calendar that underneath, this is for 2012, the 2013 calendars will be out in just a couple of weeks, but underneath each month, in the red letters, are the official holy days of all the various faiths, Buddhists, Hindus, Sikhs, Baha'i, etc. They're all here. So we have these calendars up here. They're ready for you. If any of you would like a book, Voices of Faith 1, Volume 1 and Volume 2. In the first volume, we have 12 different faiths, each chapter written by a person of that faith. Volume 2 has 8 more chapters, 8 more faiths, a marvelous explanation of that faith. Then we have Interfaith Inspirations for Our Globalized World, a daily devotional book. 22 different faith groups contributed to this, and each week it's a different topic like hope, or love, or aging parents, or children, and on each day it's a different faith that is written for that topic. It's an amazing book. This is a $20 bill, I think, and the other books are $15 each. So these are what we're doing. We want every person to go out here today